So welcome to Dorset Business Matters. I can't remember what number you are on my guest list now, Kyle, but probably seven or eight. We're going big this year. We're going to do 100 this year is the plan.
Busy year.
Lots and lots of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
So for the benefit of the viewers, would you just mind telling us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Kyle Sharland. I'm the Managing Director of OTEC. We're an MSP in the South, working on anything from networks, cloud infrastructure, down to your user support at a base level on the desk. And everything IT related. Obviously, cyber is a big topic, which I'm sure we'll catch up on later, but that's probably where our priorities lay right now.
Great.
So yeah, everything within that side of that MSP space.
What's an MSP?
So managed service provider. Okay. The way we work and the way a lot of other MSPs will work is, we take a lot of the IT stress from you and we'll basically manage it on your behalf. And that might be the printing, the lines, the VoIP, the network infrastructure, and just make sure it's doing what it's meant to be doing for you as a business.
Got it. So essentially you're managing their IT externally.
Correct. Instead of internally.
Okay.
However, there are examples where we've got a few companies where they've got internal staff and we act as a backup to that staff member. Okay. There's holiday, sickness, or they just need some help with projects, etc.
Great. So you're the founder of OTEC?
Yes, correct, yeah.
So unusual name, OTEC. Why OTEC? OHTEC, right?
Yeah, TECH. So trying to create a business name is really hard.
Isn't it?
And it's a long time ago now. And I remember I was just sat there, what do I call this?
Yeah.
And the story behind that goes is my wife said to me at the time, what do you hear a lot? And I went, do you know what? Actually, when you show someone how to fix something and then they go, oh, like it's that easy.
Yeah, okay, I got it. So OTEC.
Yeah.
Right,
so it's
right.
And I know that's so random, but to me it just made sense at the time because I think I had spent, especially when I was younger and you're just, your nan or it might be anybody and it's so simple to you, but not to them. But once you've shown somebody like a lot of skills in life, they're like, oh, is it really that easy? And then they just carry on. So that's where the O bit come from. And then obviously tech is tech, right? So that's the name. But yeah.
Fantastic.
Multiple days trying to think of that.
And then you've got to register the company name.
And everything else with it, right? Yeah. Make a logo, all the fun and games.
Well done. So how long ago was that?
So that was 10 years ago now. So I think I went incorporated in 2015. Okay. But I ran for self-employed for the year previously. Yeah. And then my accountant turned around and went, Kyle, you need to go limited now. And that was that really. Good. Being told what to do was very helpful at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherise start getting into trouble, right, with the tax man. So
absolutely.
Yeah, no. It was,
so 10 years. So prior to that, what were you doing before OTEC?
So I've been doing IT since I was 15. Okay. Which typical lad at school, got into year 10, previously loved school, got very bored, not interested. I lived with my grandparents, which we might touch on later, and my nan was like, well, you're not sitting around the house, you got to go somewhere.
Very good.
And basically sent me to work with her brothers, my uncles, up at Chowan Industrial Estate in Poole. Mm-hmm. And I was working with them, helping out in the office, and they had a server back then, which was an old school server. Yeah. And I just started to get a bit used to it and learn it. And then next thing I know, I was managing it for them at 15. And then word started to get out on the estate because everybody talks and knew each other anyway, or going around for a burger, lunch, etc. Yeah. And Kyle, can you help with this? And it just sort of slowly, progressed into doing the IT for multiple people on the estate. Yeah. And then getting phone calls. Kyle, I've got this. You're going back years now, by the way, course, like 20 odd years ago. Yeah. So IT back then was on nowhere near to what it is today, and it just sort of progressed from there. Right. And originally, I thought I want to go to America. This was all these years ago, so it was. Okay. I want to go to America, I want to get out of the country, want to go see the world, need to go to university, need to have a degree to go to America. Yeah. So I went down the whole path of doing my MVQs through work. Yeah. I was done by 17, but they wouldn't let me into uni till 18, so I had to wait around a year. Went into uni, and I don't know if you believe in fate.
Yes, I do.
So I'm a massive believer of fate. When I look at my life, I just look how things have happened. Yeah. And a prime example of that is I used to go to Southampton University, and one morning I woke up late, probably had too much to drink the night before, as we've all done as a student, and got a taxi to the train station. Okay. And in that taxi, I met the gentleman who was the father-in-law of a man called Lee Dredge. Okay. Lee was living in London at the time, planning to move down into Dorset to set up the IT company. We got talking. He gave me Lee's email. I emailed him, didn't think anything of it. Yeah. Lee then messaged me. and we started working together.
Oh, okay.
It got to the point where I was learning and working with Lee, learning more, than I was at uni. It just, because hands-on.
Totally different style.
Yeah, and the university were behind in what they were teaching.
Yeah.
And that was that really. Started
what are the
working.
chances, huh?
Yeah, it was crazy. And then, I was working with Lee for a few years, and ITSB at the time grew and grew. I've got a lot of love and respect for Lee. I haven't spoken to him in a long time. I hope he's okay. But he gave me that opportunity to jump from that kid in that field to actually working in that field.
Love it.
And I only really left to start OTEC in the end because they just started to go down that real high-end corporate route.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm very much more of a personal relationship person. And we were getting customers ringing me and saying, Kyle, what's going on? We've not heard from so-and-so, or what's this? And it just didn't fit. So we parted.
So you took the jump.
I started OTEC on my own. A few of the customers that we were working with came, which was great because I didn't have that initial, I had that security around having those businesses.
Yeah.
And then it sort of just developed on from there.
Great stuff.
So it's been an interesting 20 years.
Yeah.
And watching the IT change in 20 years has been great.
Yeah,
but
massive, isn't it? Yeah.
I always say you feel lucky. And then I can't remember who said it to me, but someone once said, a bit of it's luck, but you've also got yourself to where you've got yourself to as well.
So the phrase I always come back to is, somebody told me years ago, probably my grandfather, that life happens by you, not to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's fate, right? So the things that you do cause things to happen rather than it being pure luck or coming out of the blue. Some people's response to that is always, no, I've had all this bad luck, and it's all doom and gloom and downwards. But I think life happens by you.
And decisions that are made at the time, right?
100%.
So if you get an opportunity, did you take that opportunity or
100%.
did you sit back? And I think that's very realistic to say. But look, back to your original question. It's been a good journey. I love my life. I love my job. I love the relationships I have with the business owners that we work with.
Brilliant.
And it's just a nice space to be in.
So where did life start for you? We had a chat briefly before you came in. You mentioned Liverpool somewhere in your...
My dad was part of the Scousers that all came down in like the 80s, when they all come down and were like sleeping under the bridge in Bournemouth and work and doing painting. And, this was a big thing. If you speak to people, the history of Bournemouth. Obviously met my mother, had me. They split up around 2. He moved back up to Liverpool. Didn't see him for many years, but then did. That's a whole nother story. But, all good there. And then I've been very lucky in life because I've grown up with a very tight-knit, large family. So my nan's got 2 brothers and a sister. They've all had kids and grandkids, and we've all grown up together. Having that family build around you. And then from the age of 13, I moved in with my grandparents. And it's probably one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. I just think I love my granddad so much as a man, as a granddad, but, as what he's given me in life and taught me. As a business owner himself.
What was his business?
So he runs, he used to own, my uncle owns it now, a concise manufacturing out in Ringwood. So they do bespoke metal work.
Oh, okay.
And have done for years. There's a lot of stuff that he's done for the army, military, all sorts. But, he installed a lot of good things into me. And one of them is, if you tell someone you're going to do it, you do it. And that was drilled into me, like, if you were in the pub, and I was in the pub at 15, because that was just how it was back then.
Of course.
But it was like if you're 5 beers in and you tell Bob that you're going to go take a look at his laptop in the morning because it's slow, you'll get there in the morning and you take a look at Bob's. It doesn't matter if you're hungover. I think that's such a ridiculous statement, but
no, but it's true, isn't it?
You take that lesson and you put that through in life, and I think that little lessons like that, and being in that environment of being around older people from a young age and having to be more respectful quickly, it's just enabled me to go into the business environment world with confidence, just to talk to people, have that conversation. But I think in IT, you've probably met them. You get geeky IT people, right? And I love them. And I've got some that work for me. I always say they're like the Noel Fieldings in the IT crowd in the cupboard.
That's true.
But sometimes they're not the easiest person to have a conversation with.
Sure. So you bridge that gap.
It's nice to be able to have the talk, but also have the knowledge to be able to combine the two. And that's worked really well.
It's a great skill.
So I think, a lot of love to my grandparents for taking me in when they did, and just the life lessons they gave me. And the man I am today has been very much shaped by that. So no, it's good.
It's brilliant. Character was always something my grandfather used to talk about.
Yeah.
Your character is really important, and it's not about how big and out there you are. It's about doing what you say you're going to do, being respectful, etc., etc. We don't see too much of that these days, I'm afraid.
No,
certainly not as much as we used to. So, well done.
I think life was different back then.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
And the more we can bring that back into the society, I think is a good thing. But
well, we won't get into politics just now. We've done that prior to recording.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll touch on it in a little while. Good. Okay. Born and bred in Bournemouth?
Yeah, in Bournemouth, Poole Hospital.
And your business is currently in?
Head office is in Chowan Industrial. So I've still got my office in Chowan Industrial Estate there, which is sentimental. That's where OTEC was born and started.
Okay.
Which is
kept that.
Kept that. So that's basically my hideaway if I need to get something, get some work done. But then we've got over in Ferndown, we've got the main office where all the guys go to work.
Yeah.
It's a very nice hot desking situation. Although I say that, but people tend to pick their seat and have their seat. And that's the hub where the guys work from. As a business, because the guys sometimes work on companies' sites, they're just rotating in and out. So that works quite nice. Right. And then we've got a base up in Scotland with our VoIP engineer that works with our ISP partner Cube. So that works quite nice. Just to have that sort of coverage.
Your clients aren't all down in the south of England, are they? They never will be. You'll be attracted to all sorts of different places.
Yeah, most of the head offices of the companies will look down here, but then they'll have sub-sites up and around. Corby and Manchester, we have some customers. And then into London, we've got Milton Keynes, etc. So, it's...
Yeah, great. Okay.
The thing with IT, most of it can be done remotely. If you're doing it properly...
These days, it can 100%.
A lot of it can be fixed remotely. And as long as you put the procedures in place to have something in place if something goes wrong on site and you need that, it's easy enough to turn around.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just whiz back to when you first got started. So working with somebody else to build a business, great. Working for yourself, day one, you've got a couple of clients. Mm-hmm. What's the biggest challenge on day one that you're concerned about or that you struggle to do or otherwise? Bearing in mind, people watching this are going to be looking to start a business. So advice is always good.
I think, like I said a minute ago, I was lucky because I kind of knew I was going to have income. So I didn't have that initial pressure of I'm starting a business, where am I going to get my mortgage money from or pay X, Y, Z. So that I didn't have that pressure. But what I did have is suddenly I've gone to being in an organisation down to a one-man band and these people are going to rely on me if something's going wrong. And, a funny story of that would be, I think the first year I was in Rome with my wife, walking around the Colosseum, and the phone started going. And I'm in the middle. I had arranged for people that I knew in the IT sector to support the customers while I was away. But there was an incident that only I probably knew how to fix on the server. So I'm stood in the Colosseum in Rome, diagnosing and fixing a server, and my wife's just looking at me with the tour group as she's walking around.
I love that.
As in, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, who else is going to do it? And I think, when you start a business, who else is going to, answer that phone?
You have to be a jack of all trades.
Exactly. And, that responsibility does fall heavy on the shoulders. And, at the time I did partner with other IT companies that I grew a relationship and knew to make sure I had that outside support if I needed it. And we touched on this earlier, but I think one bit of advice I would get is ask for help. So, I was lucky with my grandfather, as mentioned, but, I've met different business owners throughout my journey who have given me some really sound advice that have helped me on that initial journey. And that's been fantastic because when you start a business, it's lonely. Mm-hmm. You're winging it to a degree because you don't really know. And it's just like, okay, you're taking this chance. Is it worth it? I think 100%. I think if you can get there and you can look back, I think I've created this. I'm paying these people's salaries. I'm looking after these people, and you've provided yourself with a life. You can look back proud at yourself and think, I've done this.
So was the fear in that early stages that you wouldn't be able to cope, or that you have to be the jack of all trades? Was that fear related, or was that? I don't think
I had fear at the time. I think I was quite confident in my expertise level of what I was doing. So I wasn't really worried about the IT. I was maybe just worried about if they went down and they went down, how would you then capacity to deal with that? That was probably the biggest issue at the time. But again, it was just quickly putting things into place to be able to go, okay, I'll have to deal with that, but I can ring these people and they can pick that up, as an example. So I don't think...
So a support network.
Support network was massive on the early days.
Huge.
100%.
And at what point did you get involved with external experts like an accountant or somebody doing social media for you or whatever else? How did you kind of start that journey?
Probably a bit later. So a few years into the business, Alex who works with me now, is my technical director. He used to work at ITSB with me. Yeah. He came over, which was a game changer because then all of a sudden there was 2 of us.
Okay, yeah.
And that freed me up a little bit more time to look at the business as a whole. So that's probably like two and a bit years in.
Okay.
You know, in that time, I can't really remember, if I'm honest, Simon, like what I was doing from an accounts perspective, but you know, that's when I started to go to like BNI.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So then that opened like the world of going and meeting different people, trades, accountants, coaches. Yeah. And you know, that really at that early stage allowed me to speak to people for more advice and sort of think, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? So like BNI at the time, we won some work from it, which was fantastic, but it was also the introduction of people to help. A bit like Bizpedia. Yeah. You know, I say to a lot of people with Bizpedia, shout out to Josh and the team, Bizpedia is great for new work. Absolutely. But what has really been beneficial is I've met so many good people that have helped me as a business grow. Yeah. So yeah, I think good. 100%.
Yeah, easy to lock yourself away, particularly when you're just getting started. There's so much work to do. I'm not out there. So you know, networking is a huge piece of that. Finding the right network for you is also massively important.
Which can be hard when you're on your own.
It can indeed.
Because again, that's a time you're away from the business that might need your input. So it can be a bit of a juggle, right?
So we talked a little bit about fear.
Yeah.
Was there fear? Potentially not. Was there fear of bringing on a colleague? So number 2, was that?
I was so excited for Alex to join.
Okay.
I wanted Alex to join when I started.
Oh, really? Okay.
But he's younger than I am. And, you know, at the time he was like, this is a big risk. You know, he was securing his job. Yeah. And to be honest, he pretty much took my role at ITSB when I left. So, you know, he was comfortable. But me and Alex have become really good mates over life and through work. Yeah. And I knew him coming on board. You know, he's such a nice, trustworthy guy. Having him to back me up was such a huge.
Okay. So there wasn't fear around.
No.
Sometimes there's a little bit as you build a team. You know, you're responsible for somebody else's mortgage and their family and what have you. You know, is that a fear that arrives at some point when you start to bring on people? Yes,
I think there's always, you look at your team and think ultimately they are your responsibility, right? Yeah. And I'm fortunate in ways where some of the guys that work for me have been my friends for years. Ethan that works for me, you know, since primary school. Okay. And, you know, he's got a lovely wife now and a little baby, and I know that I need to make sure the business is okay because I want him to be paid and that he's okay. Yeah. So you always have this. One thing I would say to anybody starting a business is you will constantly have your business in the back of your mind. Yeah. And, you know, people will say to you, exercise, meditate, read books, etc. But from my experiences, when you go to bed at night, it's quite hard to switch your brain off from work, and it's something you just have to learn to live with. And it can be difficult at times. And fear is a word, but I think it's just a consciousness of that responsibility falls to you. Yeah. You know, until you get to like a massive corporate stage, I think even at any size smaller businesses, it's always going to come back to you. Yeah. So I think that would be more of a fear to me than the actual staff. I think for me, I've always liked that step of employing that next person because in my head I'm thinking, what can we do now? We've got this extra capacity. You know, so it's like it's building blocks. Okay. You know, so I'm already thinking like, okay, we've just hired Jordan, lovely guy, come across years of experience doing on-site engineering, bringing a lot into the team, which is great. And now I'm thinking, right, now we've got Jordan, what's the next hire? Okay. And what do we need to get business-wise to warrant that next hire, and just push forward. There is an argument of how far do you go with that? Of course. Because one thing I will say is staff will be your biggest headaches in regards to they are the ones because you can't control everything they do every minute of the day. So there is a how many staff do you want? And then because you've got to start employing people to manage the staff, which is you're paying someone literally to manage other people, which I get as you get bigger you probably need. So there's all that as well.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's always a little bit of a puzzle. So how are you with goals? So when you started the business, did you have a goal in mind? Was it to be self-sufficient, or was it to buy a house, or was it to, what did that look like?
I don't know if I've ever had like mini goals, but one of my life goals, and it goes back to my granddad, has always been, I've said this on other like talks I've done, is my granddad was always that man in the family that if someone was in trouble, they would go to him. Advice-wise, if they needed money for something, and he was always in that position through what he did in his life to be able to help with that. And I always thought, I want to be that man. I want to be the person that if one of my cousins, my sisters, is in that pressure point, that they can come to me and say, Kyle, I need X, Y, Z. And I want it to be able to be, no worries, we'll deal with that. Yeah. And I'm fortunate enough to say that I have now got myself in over the last few years. I am now that position. And, my granddad's getting older now and they're retired. And it's nice to know that I can help people in the family. So that goal of getting into that position. So it's a goal, but it's also like a continuous thought of the reason I keep pushing forward to the business is like that. And obviously now I've had my son, I also then start to think, well, actually now I want to give this little man everything as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that mindset is the biggest game changer. But yeah, I think a goal perspective was always my primary goal. Okay. And then obviously
to be self-sufficient enough to have the time, energy and money to be able to help other people.
100%, yeah.
Got it, okay.
Got it,
okay.
That was, and that's what the business, owning a business can do, right?
Yeah, that's what it should be about.
Yeah.
So is there a charitable streak running through you somewhere? Are you involved with fundraising or charity or supporting any other outside organisations? Yeah,
so we've just recently, it's something I've done for a while, but it's been more in behind the scenes, is we give our OTEC Give Back scheme. Okay. So this is basically working with businesses, and it's either going to be clients of ours or not clients of ours, it doesn't really matter, who have old laptops that a lot of bigger businesses will have like a 3-year cycle, 4-year, 5-year cycle, or they've just got old laptops sat in a cupboard. We'll work with them to collect those laptops, securely clear the data from them, and then give those laptops into charities or schools for young children who need a device. Wow. So I used to work in schools back when I was in ITSB. We used to look at schools in London and down here. Yeah. And school funding, we could have a massive conversation on school funding is horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of people will say the children priorities are food and water and everything else, which is 100%. But there's also kids there that you could tell their families necessarily wouldn't have the money. And that was years ago. But I think even now, if you look at the financial pressure a lot of people are under, parents might not have the ability to go buy their son or daughter a laptop to do their homework on. Yeah. So therefore, they could possibly end up falling behind. They don't have access to friends like the others do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And these laptops that are sat in a cupboard or going to be replaced, if it allows me the ability to give this young child a laptop so they can become the next me in 15 years, then why wouldn't I want to do that? Yeah. Because I was fortunate enough, I grew up in a situation where I didn't want for stuff, but I appreciate there are. And if I can be a part of that helping process, then I would love to do that. And so, the Give Back scheme.
So you take the laptops back, rework them, and where do they go to then?
So we've got multiple schools that we work with in and around Dorset, Southampton. So, for example, what we say to businesses is, Peter Cooper, so Darren Cooper, I said to Darren, look, Darren, your laptops, where would you want these to go? So he's got a school that he works with, a primary school in Southampton. Yeah. So we donate the Peter Cooper laptops to that school on behalf of Peter Cooper and OTEC. And then we say to the schools know which children need the laptops, and every head teacher I've spoken to or finance director in the schools are so grateful because they can see the benefits that it's going to create. And my message to business owners was, it's not going to cost you anything. We will certificate. I will send you a certificate to prove that we have cleared your data down. You just need to say, Kyle, we've got 5 laptops here and come and get them. Yeah, great. And that helps.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah, giving back is a huge part of what should be part of society generally, and of course, as we talked about before we started recording, not always necessarily the case.
No.
I admire that. That's absolutely awesome. And of course, lots of kids need help. We talked a little bit before, didn't we, about that security, that bottom level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is security and the ability to feed yourself and access to water and so on and so forth. But actually, interestingly, these days, access to IT falls in that bottom section.
I think so. I mean, look at COVID, how not just children, but adults, the loneliness epidemic that caused from that, because you couldn't have that relationship. But, if you had a PC and you could go on Zoom and you could talk to your family or you could speak to people over Facebook chat messenger, and there's a charity, My Time, and we donated some laptops to them in the past because there was a bunch of children that, they're already caring for their elderly or the parents that might have disability or whatever it might be, that were isolated during COVID, even more so than they usually are. Sure. So by giving them their laptops, it allowed them to just have video chats between each other. And I think, okay, there's the homework aspect, which they're not going to be too keen on, which, X, Y, Z. But being able to keep up on top of communication and everything else that a computer now gives you I think, should be a basic requirement for everybody.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, so supporting people is, that charitable streak is clearly visible in you, which I think is great.
Yeah,
and again, most businesses, there's no excuse for any business not to support some charity somewhere along the line in some respect. And obviously your IT element is hugely important.
That's the way we can give back efficiently, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's...
And for an exponential benefit to the child that gets the laptop.
100%.
Yeah, not the same as buying them one meal.
No.
Something that they can use to...
Exactly.
Grow themselves.
You have to help people. We're not everybody was fortunate to be born in the right time, right place.
Agreed.
And if we can help these young children access a laptop that gives them some form of a better life, and I'm happy that we can do that. And it's nice. It's nice that we're in a place that we can do that.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we talked about a few things. We talked about fears. That's a community kind of subject. Pressures in running a business. So some of these are external, not internal. You mentioned people. Mm-hmm. People are always the biggest challenge, not problem, but challenge inside any business. Getting everybody to do what they should do, when they should do it, and so on and so forth. But there are external pressures, aren't there? Particularly with what's been happening politically in the last couple of years. Yeah, no, definitely. What do you think? Again, we're looking for advice for people, but where are the areas from an external pressure point of view that people should be paying attention to? How would I sum this up? So I think let's just talk on last year very quickly. You had a situation where the government changed income tax, etc. You went from businesses suddenly, like some of the dealers we look after, all of a sudden they've got a £500,000 extra bill before they've even started the year. Yeah. And we had an increase, every business had an increase. Sure. But then you've got the situation where suppliers are then emailing out because they're increasing their pricing. Mm-hmm. So, I had to then go to these dealers and other customers that we work with and say, I know you've just been hit by this. Yeah. I'm really sorry, but now we've got to put this up because we've just been... And it's an awful situation. I think there's an understanding between business owners. They kind of get what's going on, right? Nobody likes it, and I think we can all sit there and not like the government as much as we want. But it's a part of business life. But I think that pressure of going to have those conversations and talking through. But I do think that was the best method. Is I actually went and saw everybody personally. I didn't just email. I went and sat with everyone and went, "This is the situation," and a lot of that was around cyber, which we'll come on to in a bit, I expect, and what we changed there. So I think, the pressures of communicating price increases is hard. And I think I worked with a guy called Justin who came on board a couple of years back, who allowed me to sort of look at my business from a figure perspective, where we sort of sat within the industry. And this was really funny for me to hear because I said to him, I've never lost a customer. Like, the only customer we ever lost was through an acquisition where they got absorbed into a bigger company and was nothing I could do about it. And he said, Kyle, I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing. And I said, what do you mean? He went, well, you should have a level of churn. As you're growing as a business, you should, as you're going up, you might lose some businesses from there and then you're gaining from the top and then the smaller company comes in. And I went, I get what you're saying. He went, maybe your prices are too cheap. Like that, right? And in my head, I'm like, I know we're doing a good service for a good cost. And I also know businesses are struggling. At the same time, I don't want to add extra pressure on. And that's always been important to me because I think with IT, it's very easy to bamboozle. And, you could go in and talk a load of gibberish to someone and they'll be like, okay, what's happened here? We don't know any better, Kyle. So if you're putting the price up, we'll have to accept it or we'll leave and go somewhere else. Exactly. So the pressure around all of that was probably one of the biggest challenges over that year to sort of look at what we were going to do as a business and then how we were going to communicate that. And one thing I would say to anybody starting a business or running a business that's only been in for a couple of years, you have to look at your prices every so often and go, are we charging what we should be charging within the field that we're in? And how does that fit within the ecosystem of what you're doing? Because, that is important. But I think a lot of business owners sit back on that because they're worried about losing a business. 100%. I think when you start, I think Kaz said this on her interview with you, when you first start, you just take everything you can get. You don't say no because you're just literally you want the work, right? Give me. And that doesn't necessarily always lead to the best situations because you might cut a corner to fit what that customer wants or save them that cost that then proves a headache later. And at some point you've got to go, actually, no, this is how we're going to do it as a business. We'd love to work with you, but ultimately this is the cost, this is the way we're going to do it. It's there, and then put the ball into their court. But I do think a lot of businesses sit on that, and you've probably seen that a lot through coaching. 100%. That business, I think that is that's one of the fears. Of loss. Of loss. Absolutely. I put my price up and all my clients leave. But ultimately, I also think on the flip side of that, but hopefully justify it. Justifying, and also really if they're happy with what you're doing, you're always going to get somebody challenge a bill now and again. But I think as long as you can explain to them why that bill was that bill, and they're happy with your other services, you should retain that. So I would
say, sometimes fear is just fear.
Yeah.
And you're never going to know until you actually push through it.
We always say false expectations appearing real.
Yeah.
That's the 3:30 in the morning fear that you wake up with.
Yeah.
Everything's an utter disaster, and then you wake up at 8:30 or whatever time you get out of bed.
Yeah.
And actually, it wasn't real.
Yeah.
And that's true most of the time as well. So ordinarily, if you're going to put your prices up by 5%, nobody's going to complain at that. And if you've got a justification for it, then it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
But choosing your customers is kind of where Kaz was going with that, I think, when she was talking about it. So, is my ideal customer profile this person? And if it is, yes. And if I don't want this person anymore, then what do I do? Well, the easiest way to make a decision on that is to put your price up. They'll stay if they like your service, and if they don't, then they won't.
Yeah.
So that's the part of the growth bit that your mate Justin was talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And I think touching on the cyber stuff, March last year, I had to sit and make a decision on what we were going to do as an IT business in cyber quite quickly. Because this was before M&S was all over the news and everything like that.
Yeah.
But there was a lot going on. And I think, we had just, from the car dealership world, we had just witnessed Keyloop, who was a massive DMS system in North America, get taken and shut down, and it completely destroyed North America's automotive trade for weeks.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you look at that and go, we can't have this happen, because all of a sudden it's not just the business that's going to be affected and the effort and time it's going to have to go into resolve that. It's going to be our reputation as well. Because if it gets out that, OTEC has allowed this massive breach to happen, you're going to be doomed from the off-go. So we spent a lot of time and effort looking at the stack that works for us and that would work for our customers without ridiculously increasing prices. And, as part of that price increase chat, I said, look, this is what we're going to be doing from the 1st of April, the new financial year. This is the security cyber stack we're going to use. And these are the reasons why. Every single person that I spoke to understood and got why. Yes, there was a small increase, but I think it was justifiable for what they got as a protection. And I think going back to that customer selection, I said to them during that conversation, we don't want to lose you as a customer, and we're not just going to stop working with you. We'll give you the year. And if you want to transition to another IT company, we'll do whatever you need us to do to help you do that migration. But I'm not just going to be like, we're not working with you anymore.
No, but of course, and we'll talk about cybersecurity, the whys in a moment. But of course, from a protection point of view, that whether it's a car dealership or whoever it is, what you want is to make sure that you're not going to get hacked.
100%.
So I'm starting a business. I've got my first laptop. Do I need cyber essentials? Is the phrase that's kind of wrapped around. Do I need cyber essentials for my laptop and my? Depends
what industry you're in.
Selling insurance.
Yeah. So if you go on the NIS website, which is the UK government national information, national information security website. These are the guys that dictate what's happening from a cyber security perspective in the United Kingdom. There's a bill going through, I think, the House of Commons or Lords at the moment, and what that basically states is if you work in certain industries or if you're part of a chain within that service level, you have to make sure that you have cyber essentials.
Got it.
This is increasing. It's expanding.
You got some examples of what's on that list?
So at the moment, it's anybody that's like certain finance sectors, with money, investments. If you're working in the energy sector, so if you're like a gas energy supplier, there's so many different options on there. Anybody can just go on there. I think if you go on the OTEC website and go to our Cyber Essentials page, scroll down, I've taken the 2 videos from their website that really explain this to anybody where it sits. But they are expanding it, and I think the way we're going to see, if you look at what America and Europe are doing, England's going to follow suit, and I think what we'll see over the next few years is they will start to mandate Cyber Essentials as a default into customers, and they're already starting to talk about turnover. So if you're over a certain turnover, you might need it. If you're over a certain staff size, if you a pivotal role, so MSP, so like we would legally need to have it from April because we play such an important part of the chain, and it's just going to develop. So we sort of made that jump back before March last year and said, we know this is coming.
Get ahead of the game.
You with your individual laptop or your business with 20 odd staff might not need that certificate right now, but let's get you to the point where you comply with that cert. One, you're then secure. You don't have that. Nothing's 100%, by the way. I'll say this now is, as much as you want, 99% is probably the best you're ever going to get. It's a cat and mouse game. But ultimately, get to that level, have that security. If you then need that certification, you can just apply. So where this is really a hot topic at the moment is trades.
Okay.
So what a lot of the trades are seeing, builders, electricians, or anybody tendering for big work, will find that the tender now requires you have Cyber Essentials. Okay. It will be one of the first requests. Yeah, okay. So I'll get a call saying, Kyle, we need Cyber Essentials. Yeah. That's right, we'll just get you the cert because I already know you've got your systems already comply. Great. So one user starting up with a laptop, get yourself secure, make sure your data in the cloud is secure, whatever route you want to go down. If you need the cert, do some investigation, find out if you do need it. Yeah. If you don't, then worry about getting the cert when you do. But my recommendation for anyone, doesn't matter what they're doing, is make sure you're secure and you're confident in your systems.
Great. So I'm not an IT guy. How do I know what's the basic level of security that I need? So I've got a Mac. Yeah. Do I need antivirus?
Yeah. So I think one of the funniest back in the day, this all comes from historically, viruses were EXEs. Yeah. So this is getting geeky now, but the quick explanation is EXEs. So Mac people were like, oh, we're immune to viruses. Macs don't get viruses. And it was true to a degree, right? Because they didn't run on Macs. Yeah. But then hackers and bad people gone, oh, okay, you think you're safe.
We'll find another way in.
And we'll find another way in. Okay. So if you're on a Mac, you still need coverage. Yeah, okay. You still need, stuff has developed now where an antivirus on its own, it does X amount, but it doesn't do everything. Okay. So antivirus is one part, but you need to look at your mail filtering, your ITDR. If you're a big enough organization, maybe introduce SOC. And this is where you start to really wrap that cover around you.
Yeah, the barrier,
and I think it's very easy for people to go, oh, we're only small, nobody's going to target us. Yeah, yeah. But they are the people that will get hit. Yeah. Because it's the people that have that mentality that don't put anything into place that get caught out. So I would say it doesn't matter how big you are. If you get hit at the wrong time, or you open the wrong document, or you click on the wrong link, or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. That they do not care how big you are.
Okay, interesting. So there's a logical extension to that, isn't there? So cybersecurity is one thing, but as a new business owner, I am conscious that I need to be doing something with AI. Can I use AI as part of my security package? What would you advise with AI?
I mean, that would be quite a complex answer, because we as IT providers and many MSPs out there will be using AI as part of their systems and security and the way that we're supporting businesses. AI is being developed into antivirus, MDR, and other systems for the end user that is going to add a level of protection. I would say from an end user perspective, don't get caught up too much about worrying what the AI is doing. Okay. Think if you're going to get into the AI, think of what the AI can do for you as a business. Yeah. From a security perspective, let the security people worry about what the AI is doing with the security, because that's a rabbit hole otherwise. Okay. But we said this earlier. We're already seeing examples of where, I'm just going to keep using the term bad people because it's easier, right?
That's fair enough.
The bad people are going to start using the AI to breach networks, because these systems can check things and probe a lot quicker than a human previously ever could.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So it's a bit futuristic, because we're going to get to the point where you're going to need an AI to defend from an AI. And it's going to be which AIs...
AI wars.
Ultimately, yeah. And you'll probably never even see a lot of this going on. Mm-hmm. Like, we've got MSPs watching this will know, your firewalls right now monitor and manage so much that the end user will never know about.
No, of course.
And block. We'll get the reports through and scan and say, oh, it's done this, this, and this. Yeah, yeah. But the end user never knows that the firewall's doing that. Now, put an AI doing that, it's going to be even more brutal against that firewall and what else is going on. So we've got to then start to, I'm sure the smart people in the planet are already ahead of me on this, and it probably, how it can react to that and defend against that. Yeah. And, this is, as I said to you earlier, Simon, it's, IT's never, it's
evolving,
for 20 odd years, I've seen it go from old Windows all to what we are now, and it's keeping ahead of the game. And
so I'm that startup, right? I've got my first laptop.
Yeah.
I've got a BT internet connection.
Yeah.
And I've got an antivirus installed on my laptop. What else do I need to prevent somebody from getting through that standard BT internet connection into my laptop? Is there something else? Do I need a VPN, or do I need? What would you advise them to have?
Yeah. So
minimum.
So your home firewalls are just basic firewalls, so they have some level of protection on them. They're not the best. They're not at an enterprise business level, but then you'd have to go spend £500 to £1,000 to buy what would be maybe an enterprise level firewall. Do you necessarily need that at your home? I'm going to recommend yes, but the real answer is probably no. You just need to be sensible. I think a lot of this comes down to you need to think about what you're doing with your online presence. Yeah. So if you're starting a business and you've got your laptop, you've signed up to, I don't know what generic antiviruses there are now, Avast or,
ESET.
ESET, if Norton's even a thing anymore, I don't know, and you're on your machine. One, you've probably made the decision to go onto Office 365 or Google, and you're going to be using that for file storage. Yeah. My first advice would be is make sure you've got some sort of backup for that. Okay. So Microsoft, for example, they do not back your systems up. In their terms and conditions, it will literally say they are not responsible if something happens to your data or your mail. Because imagine if they were across the millions of people on the planet, they can't deal with that, right? Yeah, so I would always say there's either speak to an MSP or find a solution online that allow, and it's very minimal cost, to just make sure that you've got a backup of your data off of those portals. So if anything ever happens, you can just restore. You never want to be in that. And I think a VPN for customers that we look after, if you've got an office and you've got a firewall, we always recommend that you VPN back into your home, the office firewall, to work. Because if you're sat in a cafe on a public open Wi-Fi, you could be exposed to potentially all sorts. Yeah. So for the sake of clicking and connecting to a VPN back to your office, which is safeguarded by that firewall, and you're going over that traffic, you just know you're safe. Right. So again, going back to that one user that's just starting there, they might not necessarily have the funds to do that straight away. Sure. So I just think it's just be conscious of what you're doing. I would always say have a work laptop for work and a home laptop for home. And I think
that's interesting.
Because what you might do on your home laptop might be completely different what you do on your work laptop, right? Yeah. And it's no different than, I'm not a fan of bring your own device to work policies, which we don't generally do, because they're locked down in a way. You don't want somebody thinking they're installing Spotify or iTunes and it's a dodgy copy and all of a sudden their device is infected. So if you have the budget available to, have a work laptop that's just your work laptop, and then use your home one for surfing the web, downloading your football games and whatever it might be, right?
Never thought about it.
I think before you start to get into major expenditure of security, that's a very simple way of splitting it, reducing the risk.
Okay, so I'm no longer a startup. I've got 5 employees now. Things are looking great. Should I be talking to OTEC or an OTEC similar organisation?
Speak to an MSP. So I think once you start to get to 3 to 5 people, you've got collaboration of working, so file sharing, different access. There might be permissions around that you don't quite understand. You've then got the security aspect around that, because you've then got people accessing data from different places that were out of your control now and you can't see what they're doing. So, I think speaking to an MSP at that point can start. Also, it's a great building block. So I've worked with businesses, some that are in Bizpedia where, when I've met them, they're 5, but now they're at 30. But we put the systems into place so that growth could, easily expand upwards without, by a laptop, do the exact same.
Every time you add somebody else, you're adding an extra risk, aren't you?
Correct.
On top of everything else that's there. That's great. That's great. So nice. Get it right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, it allows easy streamline. Because ultimately, as the business owner or owners, your mind is in the business and pushing the business forward. You just need IT to work. IT is one of those games, you're loved when you're the hero, but you're the worst person on the planet when it's not working, right? Because ultimately, and what you'll get is, everybody wants their stuff fixed now, because to them, which I've always understood, it's urgent because they can't work.
Of course,
as an individual, right? On the bigger scale of things, as a business, that person not being able to print probably isn't the end of the world, but to that person right then, that frustration of wanting to print is urgent, right? True. So it's understanding that and dealing with it, right? So I think if you can get those basics sorted at the beginning with the intention that you're going to grow, you would just say, Kyle, we need a new laptop. We've got a member of staff starting on Monday. We'll order the laptop, or you order us a laptop. And you'll just log in, configured. They're ready to work and go. Off you go. That should be to the point where you get it to that point. Brilliant. And then check in. The guys in the office call me Chief Tea Drinker because it's literally, going around and seeing people for a cup of tea and checking in is such a critical part.
Totally,
So what we see in our world, and I'm sure other MSPs will laugh at this if they watch this, is people don't report things, right, because they're busy. So you'll walk into an office and they'll go, oh, Kyle, while you're here, so-and-so. And it might be something quite major, right? But you've not been told because they know it's an issue, but because they're busy, it's not enough of an issue for them to raise to you. So I think having those touch points,
great idea.
and I think this is in the MSP world, But in all businesses, having that touch points with your client, even if it's just popping in to say hello, you could judge it based on quarter, 6 monthly, once a month, weekly, depending on size. You just, that one, I think it keeps the relationship good, but two, you keep on top of so many more things.
Yeah, well, it's still a people business, isn't it? I think that's
100%.
Underlying all of that is really important.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a massive amount of ground there. So Wendy's going to be here in a minute. She wants some advice.
Yeah.
What would you tell her are the 3 most important things to think about when she's starting her business?
From an IT perspective?
No, from a business owner's
from a business owner's perspective. Systems. So the first thing I'd probably sit down and think of, right, I need an accounting system, Xero, QuickBooks.
Yeah.
I need an office application system, Google, Microsoft Office 365, whatever, X, Y, Z. Because I think once you've got your systems, and that might develop and change over time, but to start with, you don't be using notepads.
Proper structure and organisation.
Yeah, because that's going to help you day to day do that.
Okay.
I think the second thing is help and advice. So who can you reach out to within different industries? Might that be a coach? Might that be an accountant? All these different business people that you could just have a conversation with and say, right, I've got this idea, I'm starting this company. Right. What should I be doing? Because that's how I did it. And if I didn't have the advice, I probably wouldn't have got to where I am now. It would have been slower. So, I think...
we don't all know everything, and therefore bring in other people to give you advice. I love that.
Yeah, so systems and people. And then the third thing I would just be confidence. And I think, if you've made that decision to start your own business, you have at one point believed in yourself to do that. And you're going to have moments of doubt. And you're going to think, oh my God, what am I doing? I've just given up. I think that I was listening to one of your podcasts with a gentleman that bad case of events, and he had just quit his job, and he had a great pension and a car, and Stuart. And you're going to be thinking, oh my God, what have I done? But then there was a reason why you started your own business, right? And I think the confidence in going, I can do this. If I've got the confidence in myself, I can push myself forward to do it. And I think you will have times of reflection and go, oof. But actually, just if you think in your head, I did this for a reason, I can do this. It's a weird one, the third one, but I think that's so critical to anybody.
Self-doubt creeps into everybody at some point or another. Depending on what's going on.
Self-doubt and what's the word? I think Kaz used it actually.
Imposter syndrome.
So that,
see a lot of that.
That was something, I struggled with that for a while. And there's a lovely lady called Liz, shout out to Liz if she watches this, in the Portsmouth group at Bizpedia. And I just said to Liz, she's been in business for many years. I said, Liz, can me and you have a chat? And we went to one of the pubs, had a lovely lunch together and a chat. And I just said, there's this real imposter syndrome. Why do I deserve to be? Where have I got to? And all this. And I think all business owners go through this when you're on that journey, because it is a bit surreal at times. But again, it's just a thought. And you have to then go back to actually, no, you have created this. It goes back to that fate thing, but you have taken the opportunities and created that. So whenever that self-doubt or impersonator syndrome kicks in, write something down or keep something somewhere that you've got that just makes you remember, actually, no, I've done this, I'm doing it for this. And that, I think, is such a big thing for any business owner.
Love that. 3 great pieces of advice.
Thank you.
Kyle, been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
We'll bring you back in a year and see how things have gone for the business.
Perfect, thank you. Cheers, Simon.
Great stuff.